In the shadows of Durnholde Keep, where cruelty reigned and orcs were broken into slaves, one human child dared to see an orc not as a beast, but as a brother. Her name was Taretha Foxton, and without her, there would be no Warchief Thrall, and perhaps no horde at all. Taretha Foxton was 5 when fate first set her small hand against the great machinery of cruelty, where she became bound to the orc called Thrall. Among the hardened guards and callous overseers of Durnholde, it was she alone who saw him for what he truly was, an infant, unable to gnaw at the slabs of meat shoved into his tiny hands. With innocent clarity, she pointed out what others had missed. The green-skinned baby had no teeth, and thus could not eat. Because of her words, his meals were changed to milk, and in the Foxton household he thrived, nursed by Taretha's mother, cradled by kindness. She once had a baby brother of her own, named Thrall, but he had died before she could know him. In the green-skinned infant, she saw not a monster, but the brother she had lost, and she couldn't wait to grow up with him. When at last the time came that he was weaned, Thrall was taken from them. The parting carved grief into young Taretha's heart, and she wept for the child she had come to love as though he were her own little brother. Years slipped by, yet her bond with Thrall endured in quiet defiance. Still in her preteens, Taretha was tasked with delivering books of military strategy to the orc, an idea born of Blackmore's scheming advisor, who sought to mold the youth into a weapon of war. Yet the tomes became more than chains of discipline. With cunning born of both wit and compassion, Taretha slid notes between the pages, tiny parcels of light. Sometimes she tucked in a sprig of wildflowers, pressed flat and fragrant, so that even in a cell the air would remember gentleness. She wrote of books and weather and hope, and in the margin she smuggled a truth Thrall could cling to, that he was not a beast, not a weapon, but a person. But Durnholde's master noticed other things. Aedelus Blackmore laid claim to Taretha with the casual violence of a lord who believed himself above consequence. Bruises bloomed and vanished. Silences did not. When Prince Arthas Menethil came to Durnholde to witness Thrall's prowess in the arena, Blackmore sought to debase her further, sending her to the young royal's chambers. Yet Arthas didn't treat her as a plaything. Instead, they spoke through the quiet hours, and in Taretha's face the prince glimpsed a reflection of Jaina Proudmoore. Even in that place, dignity could live for an hour. The arena made a spectacle of Thrall, and when he faltered, the lash reminded him where he was. It was after one such punishment that Taretha acted, not rashly, but wisely. She had watched, learned the routines of the guards, the swiftness of their response, which torches were neglected, which pens were badly latched. Then, on a windy night, she moved. Torches toppled, straw took the flame, animals bolted into the dark. She did not burn at random, she burned just enough, in just the places that would pull steel boots away from a single path through the chaos. That path led to a hidden cave beyond Durnholde's walls, a place where Taretha had chosen for its secrecy. There, she waited in the dark, and Thrall came, hidden in the heavy cloak she had left for him. There, beneath the smoke and the shouting, came the hardest moment of all. Seeing the marks on her wrists, Thrall told her that she should come with him. She could see it in his eyes and hear it in his voice that he was pleading her to leave this place. But Taretha shook her head with tears in her eyes. Family bound her where chains could not. More than that, she knew Blackmore's spite. If she fled, her kin would suffer for it. Her mother who once nursed Thrall, her father who remained chained to Blackmore's command. She would not abandon them to his wrath. I cannot. What he would do to my family if I fled? No. But you can. Please, go now. I will rest the easier knowing that you, at least, have escaped. Be free for the both of us. She pressed a crescent moon charm into his palm, a cool silver promise for a future night. If you are ever here and in need, place this necklace in the trunk of the old tree, she told him, and I will meet you in this cave and do what I can to help. He hesitated, almost couldn't leave her, then vanished into the wilds she'd opened for him. She watched the cloak become darkness, and prayed the wildflowers in his memory would not wither. From that moment, Thrall's path was forever changed. He found the frost wolves, learned the ways of the shaman, and rose to lead his people. Yet through every trial, the memory of Taretha remained. The first human who had shown him kindness, the proof that compassion could cross the walls of race and hatred. It was her gift that allowed him in time to see allies where others only saw enemies. Years later, a Warchief returned to that same cave. The crescent moon found its way back to a familiar hand, and in the glow of torchlight, Taretha met him once more. This time, he was not alone. Orcish companions lingered at the cave's mouth, wary of the human who had once served their jailer. One of the orcs stepped forward, his voice low and steady. "You are courageous. You risk your safety to give us this chance to free our people. Our Warchief did not lie. Some humans, it would seem, do understand honor." With a warrior's gravity, he bowed before her. Taretha's smile trembled, her heart moved. She had never seen monsters in Thrall's kin, only people worthy of respect. In that moment, orc and human met as equals. Then, with her eyes shining, she turned back to Thrall. "Here, I want you to have this. I've been so long without it doesn't feel right for me to keep it anymore. Keep it, give it to your child, if you have one, and perhaps I may visit him one day." They parted with hope, but Thrall's heart burned to tear down the keep and free Taretha and her family. She was his sister in all but blood. Yet he held his fury, returning to his people to gather strength and forge the plans of war. A month passed before he led the horde to Durnholde. When at last they came in force, the banners of the horde rose against the gray sky. Thrall stood at their head, not as a fugitive slave, but as Warchief of a people reborn. Before the gates, he lifted his voice. Thrall called out, saying that he didn't wish to fight humans anymore, unless they are forced to defend themselves. But Blackmoor held many orc prisoners, so all Thrall wanted was for him to let them go, and then they would return back to their home with no bloodshed. But the drunkard only laughed, spitting down at him. For a moment, silence answered, a hush that hung heavy, as though even the stones themselves waited to hear what choice would be made. Then the battlements stirred, and Aedelus Blackmoor staggered into view. With slurred venom, he mocked the orc, boasting that he had given him life, raising him as a gladiator and giving him purpose. To which Thrall reminded him that was after ordering his parents to be killed. To Blackmoor, he had been nothing more than a slave, a creature whose life could be ended at a whim. But no longer. Thrall stood free, a Warchief. And in his heart, Thrall swore he would return for Taretha to tear her from the shadow of this place and keep her safe with the orcs. Yet fate would not grant him such mercy. Blackmoor's hand plunged into the sack he carried. He drew something forth, and with a roar hurled it down. "That's what I do with traitors!" Only when it rolled to his feet did Thrall see what it was. Taretha's severed head struck the earth and rolled before the Warchief. Thrall's gaze locked on those blue eyes, once bright with kindness, now forever stilled. In that instant, the world he had built within himself cracked and began to fall. It couldn't be. Not Terry. Surely not even Blackmoor could do such an abominable thing to an innocent. But blessed unconsciousness would not come. He remained stubbornly awake, staring at long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a bloody severed neck. Then the horrible image blurred. Wetness poured down his face, his chest heavy with agony. Then Thrall recalled what Terry had said so long ago. These are called tears. They come when we are so sad, so soul-sick. It's as if our hearts are so full of pain, there's no place else for it to go. For a heartbeat, the world stood still. Something in Thrall, something no beating had ever cracked, finally broke. He wept for Taretha, for his sister, the girl who had saved him, who had shown him that not all humans bore Blackmoor's cruelty. The grief hardened within him. This he would not forgive. This he would repay in blood. Grief became iron. The iron became thunder. He lifted his voice in a cry that was part anguish, part war call. The horde surged forward like a living tide, hurling themselves against Durnholde's walls. Though clumsy with drink, he fought with savage desperation, spewing venom with every strike. He called Thrall slave, spat curses, mocked him even as his blade grew heavy. Thrall's heart roared for vengeance, to cut the man down in blind fury. Yet even as he fought, another voice haunted him. Taretha's voice, urging compassion, reminding him that cruelty was never strength. He struggled, torn between rage and the justice she would have wanted. At last, the duel ended. Blackmore fell beneath the very orc he had tried to chain, cut down not with joy, but with grim necessity. When the tyrant's body stilled, the shouting of battle lingered. But Thrall raised his hand. He ordered mercy for the innocent, sparing women, children, and all who had no hand in cruelty. In that moment, Thrall knew this mercy was Taretha's legacy living through him. Even in death, she guided his hand. Then Thrall turned to the keep itself. He lifted his voice to the spirits of the earth, and the ground shuddered in answer. Stones cracked, towers split, walls buckled. Durnholde trembled, then collapsed into itself, swallowed by dust and ruin, no longer a prison but a grave for a tyrant, and for the girl who had once filled its shadows with wildflowers and hope. Her story did not end there. In the years that followed, it was her kindness that allowed Thrall to trust a human hand when the world most needed it. It was her courage that taught him peace was not weakness. And among the orcs who sing the deeds of heroes, there is a song for a human. Iluk Vadund, for the girl who gave the Horde its Warchief, and taught a chained boy to believe in gentleness. Years after the fall of Durnholde and the rise of Thrall as Warchief of the Horde, echoes of Taretha's memory stirred once more. Seeking to honor the woman who had given him both freedom and hope, Thrall dispatched a band of orc volunteers to the ruins of the keep. Their task was twofold: to probe the growing menace of the Syndicate, and to recover a relic dearer to him than any weapon. Taretha's necklace, the crescent moon that had once bound their promise. The trinket had passed into unworthy hands, worn now by Alyssa, the mistress of Lord Aladin Perinold, the Syndicate's cunning leader. Yet the mission faltered from the start. Golder, who commanded the expedition, was seized along with his companions Droll and Tugthar. Only Krusk escaped the net, but he did not flee to despair. Instead, he sought out champions of the Horde, adventurers willing to risk the Syndicate's wrath. They struck with sudden fury, ending Aladin's reign and breaking the chains of the captives. From Alyssa, who was held against her will by the threat upon her people, they accepted the necklace and brought it back to the Warchief. When adventurers later journeyed into the Caverns of Time, they learned that history itself had been threatened. The infinite dragonflight, sworn to unravel destiny, had captured Taretha, holding her captive in Terran Mill to the west of Durnholde. Without her aid, the young orc would never escape his chains, and the path that would one day make him Warchief would be broken. With this knowledge, champions of Azeroth strode beside Thrall through his desperate flight from Durnholde's walls, guarding him as he took the first steps into his fate. In Terran Mill, they found Taretha, bound within the grasp of the infinite dragonflight. It was there that the Infinite sought to end her life, unleashing the great drake known as the Epoch Hunter. Against its shadowed might, the adventurers prevailed. By their courage, the thread of destiny was preserved, and Thrall's escape, and all that would follow, remained secure. When Thrall at last walked the sands of the Caverns of Time, the bronze dragon Chronalis revealed to him a truth hidden from his memory. In ages past, mortal adventurers had stepped into the flow of destiny itself, ensuring that his escape from Durnholde was preserved. Their deeds had been veiled from his recollection, leaving only the certainty of freedom. To learn of their efforts humbled him deeply, and gratitude welled within his heart. He then asked that the mortal agents of the Bronze Flight be gentle with Taretha, should they ever encounter her in those fragile echoes of time. Her name lingered still upon Thrall's lips even in the final battles of the Age of Cataclysm. As the world trembled before Deathwing's wrath, Thrall called upon the memory of Taretha, honoring the woman who had once given him hope, and whose compassion had helped shape the destiny of Azeroth itself. There are timelines where mercy never blossomed, where one small voice never saved a helpless child. In such a world, Thrall perished in infancy, and in that absence, the shadow fell not upon him, but upon the Foxton family. Taretha's parents bore the blame for letting the orcish infant die. Her father was stripped of rank, ground down beneath Blackmore's heel. Her mother withered soon after, taken by illness, leaving Taretha to a colder fate. She grew up differently in that broken strand of time, never taught to read or write, beaten and broken by Aedelus Blackmore until he got bored of her. Without Thrall's defiance to challenge him, Blackmore sobered and he sharpened his cruelty into ambition. and with his sobriety he forged his own army and conquered Lordaeron. The orcs, bereft of their future warchief, were chained as slaves, their voices snuffed out beneath human lash. And in this bleak dominion, Taretha hardened, her spirit reshaped by the world's merciless design. Years later, after the Battle of Blackrock Spire, fate curved back upon itself. Thrall, the true Thrall from the Prime timeline, pursued Nozdormu through the caverns of time and emerged into this shattered world. Here he found Taretha again, though she was no longer the gentle sister he had known. She planned to sell him into slavery to live off the bounty his capture would bring. But destiny left its mark upon them both. Thrall bore the crescent moon locket she had once given him, and in this world she wore its twin. When he told her of their shared past, of the infant with blue eyes, of the sisterly kindness she had once shown, she listened. At last, she asked him if she had lived long in his world. Thrall faltered, but spoke the truth when pressed. She had died at Blackmore's hands, and only lived into her mid-20s. To his surprise, she did not weep. She only smiled with a wary strength and said it was enough. That even in dying, to make a difference was worth all else. And in that moment, Thrall realized his Taretha, the one who had given him hope, had known this too when she went to her death. Together they journeyed to Dalaran, where Taretha, now his supposed master, brought him before Crassus. His apprentice Devi admitted them after they offered an acorn at the door. And in that strange guise, Thrall learned again what he had nearly forgotten. That one must live in the moment. He found what he sought, the lost aspect of time itself. By opening the gates of freedom for Thrall, Taretha Foxton did more than save a single life. She ensured the future of an entire people. From the child she saved grew the Warchief who forged a new horde. And it was through her compassion that Thrall first believed peace between orc and human might be possible. When she met the Frostwolves and the Warsong, she treated them not with fear but with trust. Her example became a bridge across the chasm of hatred, a glimmer of what could be shared between two worlds long at war. In years to come, echoes of her kindness still guided Thrall's heart. When he met Jaina Proudmoore, something in her presence stirred the memory of Taretha. Perhaps it was this that allowed him to set aside bitterness to extend his hand even to the Alliance. The lesson she had planted bore its fruit when Horde and Alliance joined as one, first to slay Manoroth, and later upon the slopes of Mount Hyjal, where together with the Sentinels they cast down Archimonde the Defiler. Such was her legacy that the orcs sang of her as they would one of their own. A Luck Vadund, a song of a hero, was composed in her honor, the only human ever to receive such remembrance. Yet even in death, her memory remained bound to Thrall. In the war against the Nightmare, she appeared within his dreams, a haunting echo the moment he could not save her. Though her tale ended in silence and sorrow, the scrolls remember what the world forgot. For in every victory Thrall claimed, and in every moment of peace he sought, there lingers the echo of Taretha Foxton. Not all heroes ride at the head of armies. Some light a candle in a dungeon, press a flower inside a book, and in a hidden cave, change the fate of Azeroth. And that's going to do it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for checking it out. And please, do take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.